Toronto Maple Leafs have made multiple surprising moves. As in a shocking turn of events, Craig Berube has shaken up the lines. I'm going to break down exactly what the moves are and discuss what it means going forward because they are quite surprising. We also have a few other updates ahead of tonight's massive game against the Ottawa Senators. But before we get into it, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. And thank you guys again for your continued support. And if you liked the Simon Benoit punch, make sure to hit that subscribe button, even though that happened a few games ago. Darius, a lot to go over today. Huge game against the Senators tonight. I mean, every game at this point feels like a must-win. If they lose this, they're going to continue to fall down the standings in the Atlantic. And the Atlantic is still well within reach, especially with the way that the schedule is facing and panning out with the Leafs playing the Panthers a couple more times, 2 or 3 more times. However, we've been clamoring about it on the channel over the past 2 days. And Craig Berube listened. He listened to us, not necessarily actually listening to us, but they have shaken up the lines in, a pretty big way here. And you can see this here. Maple Leafs forward lines at the morning skate at home versus Ottawa. Nyes, Matthews, Domi, McMahon, Tavares, Marner, Nylander, Lawton, Järnkrok, Lorentz, Holmberg as the fourth line center, and Nick Robertson getting in there. So a lot of moves here. You have Kempf out, you have Robertson in, you have Marner moving to the second line, and you have Nylander moving to the third line. This is the biggest change you've seen since what feels like the preseason as it pertains to the lines, and Craig Berube finally did it. He finally changed up the lines, and a little bit surprising here because we're only a few weeks out from the playoffs.
Nice to know that Craig Berube watches our program because this is almost exactly what we were talking about in our last video and our last stream in terms of the line construction. But realistically, we know dating back to last year that Domies and Matthew, they work together. It just makes sense that, that they would play together. It worked last season. You have Nyes up there instead of Bertuzzi, obviously, from last year. And I think Nyes deserves that spot on the top line. Keep him there. And then the only thing that was really different from what we said in our last video in the last stream is, Nylander and Marner are swapped. So that's really the only difference to me, and I think that's fine because I've always actually preferred Marner to play with Tavares. I think that they actually complement each other much better than any other pairing that they want to do on the team. So I do like that. Nylander going down to the third line, he hasn't really produced, right? Like he has kind of, taken a few games off here. And I mean, he does that over the course of a season. We've talked about that. He's always really done that. But let's see if he can kind of get going tonight. And at least it lengthens the lineup. If you have like a couple lines that are not going because everyone is on those lines, it's really top heavy, then your team is toast because of the way the Leafs are constructed, right? So I like that, this lengthens the lineup a little bit. Robertson playing on the fourth line, very interesting. The fact that Holmberg is in there too and Kampf is out, I think that they're expecting a certain type of game from the Senators tonight. I don't necessarily like that sometimes, but we know what the Senators are going to bring tonight. Usually, I would say just play your game, focus on your game, of course, but the Senators are desperate right now. We know what they're going to bring. Brady Tkachuk is going to play. We'll get to that in a second too. We know exactly what he's going to do tonight. He's going to try and, create something, stir the pot a little bit. So that should be fun, but I like these lines. And obviously, I think the blender is coming out and it could come out, halfway through this game. We don't know exactly when, but I feel like for the next little while, this is kind of what we're going to see. But I have a feeling that first line is going to work. And the reason too is we talked about it in a video yesterday that Marner doesn't really shoot. And now that Matthews is not shooting either because of the injury he's dealing with, I'd rather Domi up on that line anyway, because honestly, I know Domi's a playmaker, but I feel like he shoots more than Mitch Marner even. So I kind of like that. And you have two guys that are going to try and drive the net and create some chaos, which I think is good with Austin Matthews, who of course gets a lot of the attention.
Yeah, it's a surprising turn of events. It makes tonight's game even more exciting to watch. Stolarz obviously also gets in net there. You can see this here. He is the first goalie off the ice at the Leafs morning skate. He projects to make his second straight start. So they're having faith here in Stolarz instead of Joseph Woll, because Joseph Woll obviously played against Utah, and then now Stolarz against Florida and back at the Ottawa Senators. They need to win this game, and there's no real doubt about it. Now, there was some rumblings about Austin Matthews for a little bit there, potentially missing the game, which we'll dive into in a little bit because he didn't skate today. But yeah, as it pertains to the lines, I think it's going to work very well. The second line now, you get McMahon back in the second line. He hasn't been producing lately. Nylander with Lawton. Hopefully that'll unlock Scott Lawton a little bit more here since now they've had a few days to practice. He's finally had some time off. And Kelly Järnkrok has been playing fantastic. And you also have scoring on the fourth line now, in theory, with Robertson, even Holmberg, to open things up a little bit. It probably would have been a patented Ryan Reeves game in the past, but he's no longer with the Leafs team, at least the big league team. Craig Berube on Austin Matthews, who will play tonight, who's not taking part in morning skate. Just rest. Is he dealing with anything, or is it just maintenance? Just rest. And we'll probably have a video on this. I think he's definitely dealing with something. He's not skating today. they desperately need him to pick it up. And I'm hoping this change of lines here picks it up a little bit, but this really lengthens out the lines entirely now because 1 through all the way down through, I guess, 1 through 12, really, they look more deep. And of course, now you have the second line with Mitch Marner alongside John Tavares, which we've seen work, Domi with Matthews. It is, we finally get to see it, and it's a little bit exciting to watch in tonight's game if they play well. And regarding the blue line pairs, another good sign is that Chris Tanev is still out there, so he's not dealing with any ailments following yesterday's game or last time game a few days ago. He looked very good out there. He looked healthy, and they're going with Benoit, OEL, McCabe, Tanev, O'Reilly, and Carlo, who's coming off of probably his best game as a Leaf.
Yeah, and at least it makes tonight a little bit more interesting too, because if they go with the same lineup as they started with against the Florida Panthers, I think all these fans would be like, I'm not very excited for this game. I feel like we're going to get the same result, right? Because Ottawa's coming in very hungry. We know the way that they're going to play, and the Leafs are kind of not playing the greatest as of late. We've gone over it a lot. In terms of Austin Matthews and what Berube said, I mean, great PR from the coach, right? Keeps it very simple. It's just rest. But I mean, we weren't all born last night. Like we can read between the lines. Like this guy is injured. He's dealing with something. Nobody else took rest, right? So why would he take rest? Doesn't it wasn't necessarily an optional skate. There's times where it is an optional skate and these guys will miss, and that makes sense. But I don't think this morning was the case, and he's missing it for something. He's clearly dealing with some type of injury. And if he was, I mean, hindsight's 2020. Maybe before the trade deadline, they could have put him on LTIR, save that 13 million, and then you can go out and weaponize that cap space. But here we are at this point. He's continuing to try and play. And I think the reason really is because it's something that he's not going to be able to get over this season. He might have to have surgery, like you talked about in the offseason. We talked about it in a video yesterday to fix whatever it is. And he's just going to ride it out and try to do his best until then, which is not ideal, but it's better than not having Austin Matthews in the lineup, I guess. So we'll see what happens tonight. I like the lines. I like that it lengthens the lineup a lot. We'll see if the blender comes out, but I'm actually thinking that first line is going to be pretty electric tonight, considering how good Domi played last game. I feel like momentum is everything in hockey, and it's probably going to carry into tonight as well.
This should be the game where everything hopefully comes together. You have Carlo, you have Scott Lawton, both coming off of days of practice. You have everybody rested now, fairly rested. And Craig Berube spoke out on why Stolarz are starting tonight. He said, I think from the injury and the break, Stolarz wanted to get some more games here, which makes sense. I think he is the 1A goalie for this team. He's coming off of a interesting game against the Panthers, gave up a couple, rough goals, and then obviously held it down in the third. Unfortunately, the Leafs weren't able to come back. But also a storyline here is that Brady Tkachuk is going to be playing tonight after missing the last few minutes of Thursday's game. That was a big storyline coming in because at this point, the Leafs need to win, and Ottawa is right on everybody's tail in the conference, or the Eastern Conference, simply because of how good they've been playing. So it's going to be interesting. You have to see some performance from this top line, and that's going to be the big storyline coming in, is that top line. And again, whether or not Stolarz plays well is going to be the difference maker in this game. But let us know down below what your thoughts are on all of this. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully, Austin Matthews can pick it up because he has been a very interesting player. Any final thoughts, Darius? It's going to be an exciting one. I'm excited for it, but at the end of the day, they need to get a win, and the results matter at this point of the season. There's no moral victories here, and if they're not able to get the win tonight, then I suspect there's going to be some all-out panic among Leafs fans around the world.
They need to win this game. They absolutely need to win this game because of, the playoff implications, of course, like finishing first in the Atlantic, and you could end up playing the Senators anyway, so try and get into their heads. And Austin Matthews, the last little while, I'm not going to say he's been playing bad, but he's been playing. It's uncharacteristic for him, right? I would like to see him score tonight. That would be nice. I think that would put a lot of Leaf fans at ease if he actually scored. He's still putting up a lot of points, right? Like he's doing a lot of great things in terms of numbers, but want to see him score and get back to his old self, or just, a glimpse of that. I think that would put a lot of Leaf fans at ease. So would love to see him score, but I don't think he's necessarily playing bad. It's just not to the level we know that he can.
Yeah, let us know down below what your thoughts are. We'll be live following tonight's game, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching.